$2.1 trillion. That is the value of Amazon today, larger than the GDP of most countries. But here's the twist. That fortune was not built on books, or toilet paper, or two-day shipping. It was built on something invisible. Something you use every time you stream a show, scroll social media, or open a banking app. Amazon Web Services, AWS. A side project that now generates more operating income than the entire retail empire. In 2024, AWS accounted for just 15% of Amazon's net sales, yet it delivered 58% of its operating profit. More than retail, advertising, and subscriptions combined. So how did a company that started selling books in a garage become the landlord of the internet? And why is that power quietly reshaping the world in ways you never see? This is the story of a secret empire, the cloud that runs the internet, and the hidden cost of convenience. You've seen the headlines. Amazon is worth over $2 trillion. That's more than the GDP of most countries. But here's the strange part. The company that delivers your packages, sells your books, and stocks your pantry, that retail machine, barely breaks even. So why does the stock price keep climbing? Why does Wall Street treat Amazon like a utility, a bank, and a tech titan all at once? The answer is invisible to shoppers. You never see it when you click buy. It lives in a different world, a world of data centers, fiber optic cables, and servers humming in the desert. This is Amazon Web Services, AWS. In 2024, it accounted for just 15% of Amazon's net sales, yet it drove 58% of the company's operating income, more than retail, advertising, and subscriptions combined. Think about that. A tiny slice of revenue generates the majority of profit. Picture a single division that is now 4 times bigger than Amazon's original shopping business. It powers Netflix, Airbnb, and even virtual reality. It's the operating system of the modern internet. But how did a bookseller end up running the cloud? And what single division generates more profit than Amazon's entire retail empire? You tap your phone, you open an app, you stream a movie, but where does that data actually live? Not in your hand, not in some distant server farm you've never seen. It lives inside a machine that runs silently, invisibly, across the globe. Rows of blinking servers in Virginia, in Dublin, in Singapore. Each one a tiny piece of a system that never sleeps. This is Amazon Web Services. It powers a startup in Bangalore launching its app. It stores citizen records for a government halfway around the world. It renders entire virtual worlds for a VR platform you might use tonight. Yet you never see it. You never click on it. You never think about it. But this invisible layer generates a fortune that dwarfs the margins of any retail shelf. The store sells books and toilet paper. The cloud sells the infrastructure of modern life itself. Therefore, the question becomes unavoidable. How did a side project become 4 times bigger than Amazon's original business? Subscribe to uncover the hidden engines of big tech. Picture this, you swipe your phone, stream a movie, send a work email. Every action touches a server. But whose server? More often than not, Amazon's. That invisible infrastructure is Amazon Web Services. And here's the twist. AWS accounts for only 15% of Amazon's net sales, yet it drives 58% of operating income. How can a tiny slice dominate profits? The answer lies in the economics. Retail is a war of pennies, warehouses, trucks, returns. Margins are razor thin. Cloud computing, by contrast, is a license to print money. Once the data centers are built, the cost to serve an extra customer is near zero. AWS sells capacity, not products. Therefore, every new client drops straight to the bottom line. Consider scale. AWS is now 4 times bigger than Amazon's original shopping business. It powers everything from Netflix to virtual reality. It's the operating system of the modern internet. But here's the quiet truth. Most people have never seen an AWS bill. They see the prime boxes, not the server racks. So retail brings in the revenue, cloud brings in the profit. The two sides of Amazon barely speak the same language. You tap your phone, the screen lights up, and within seconds you're streaming a movie, sending a work email, asking an AI chatbot a question. None of it happens on your device. Every request travels to a vast, windowless data center somewhere in Virginia, or Oregon, or Dublin. The answer comes back before you notice the delay. That invisible relay is Amazon Web Services. AWS is not just a cloud provider. It has become the operating system of modern technology. Think of it this way. The same infrastructure that runs Netflix's streaming also powers Airbnb's bookings, Twitch's live broadcasts, and the virtual reality worlds you might step into tomorrow. When a startup launches an AI model, it rents compute from AWS. When a bank processes millions of transactions, it runs on AWS. The company that started by selling books now quietly runs the pipes that deliver half the internet's traffic. But here's the tension. AWS generates a staggering share of Amazon's operating income, far more than retail, advertising, and subscriptions combined. Yet it represents only a fraction of total sales. That means the entire empire's profit engine is a single, highly specialized business. And that business is now facing real competition. Microsoft's Azure and Google Cloud are spending billions to catch up. Regulators are circling. Customers are starting to ask, do we want one company to hold the keys to so much of the digital world? What happens when the cloud that powers the internet faces real competition? Wall Street doesn't care about your two-day delivery. They care about the invisible machine that prints money while you sleep. Amazon's retail business is a marvel of logistics, but it's a low-margin beast. Warehouses, trucks, fuel, returns. Every dollar of sales costs nearly $1 to earn. AWS is the opposite. Once the servers are built, the profit flows. No shipping, no inventory. Just pure recurring revenue from companies that can't afford to unplug. Investors see the gap. Retail grows, but it bleeds cash. AWS grows faster and keeps almost every dollar it touches. That's why the stock moves on cloud earnings, not on how many Prime members signed up. The shopping side is the face. The cloud is the engine. But here's the tension. Amazon's retail empire was built on razor-thin margins and relentless expansion. That same hunger now drives AWS into every corner of the internet, powering everything from streaming to virtual reality. Yet the more it controls, the more regulators watch. The more it profits, the more competitors circle. How does AWS's quarterly performance compare to Amazon's earnings surprise? AWS is no longer just the invisible engine behind Netflix or Slack. It's now the operating system for industries you'd never expect. Hospitals store patient records in its cloud. Banks run transactions on its servers. Even the military trusts it with classified data. But here's the catch. The same infrastructure that makes the internet seamless also makes it fragile. When AWS goes down, half the web stumbles with it. A single configuration error can knock out streaming, banking, and even air traffic control systems. Therefore, as Amazon pushes deeper into healthcare, autonomous driving, and artificial intelligence, the stakes multiply. Every new industry it touches becomes dependent on a single company's servers. That concentration of power is staggering. Regulators are starting to ask questions. Competitors are scrambling to build alternatives. Yet AWS keeps growing because the cloud is no longer a choice. It's the foundation. And foundations are hard to replace. So the real question isn't whether Amazon can expand further. It's whether the digital world can afford to let it. Will Amazon's secret empire remain the backbone of the digital age? So here's the truth. Amazon doesn't make its money from selling books or toilet paper. It makes it from renting out spare server space. In 2024, AWS accounted for just 15% of Amazon's net sales. Yet it delivered 58% of the company's operating income, more than retail, advertising, and subscriptions combined. The lesson? The very trait that built the cloud, an obsession with efficiency and scale, is now the seed of its greatest vulnerability. AWS is the operating system of the modern internet. It powers everything from Netflix to your bank to virtual reality. But operating systems attract regulators and competitors. The same infrastructure that made Amazon indispensable also makes it a target. Because when you run the cloud, every outage is your fault, every data breach is your name, and every government looking to curb big tech knows exactly where to look. The relentless optimization that turned a bookstore into a profit machine could become the flaw that undoes it. But Amazon isn't the only hidden monopoly. There's another company you've never heard of that controls the world's supply of a critical mineral. That story is next. This is the Monopoly Matrix, where business meets the future.